Hello, and welcome to this ANSYS Space Claim reverse engineering tutorial on the skin surface tool creating periodic or blended surfaces. If you haven't already, go to File, Open, browse to the directory you downloaded the files to, and you're going to have to change from Space Claim files to all files in the file filter, and then select the two STLs and go ahead and open those up. You'll see there's a model of a leg and the model of a bone. Let's start with the bone model. So in the Insert tab, we have the Skin Surface tool. In the past, you might be used to extracting curves and blending between them, but here we're going to use the Skin Surface tool to get a better result. In a previous tutorial, we created a 3 or 4-sided patch. Here we're going to create a circular profile and blend between those. So I'm going to pick a series of points going around the circumference. I'm only doing single clicks, not double clicks, and I'm going to end on the point that I started on. I'm going to do that on one side of the model, and I'm going to repeat that on the other side of the model. So just picking a bunch of single points, going around, spinning the model, and then we'll come back to this point here. Looks like I misclicked, so I'm just going to undo once, and now I can join right back up. Immediately, you're going to see a preview between those two profiles, and when you click the check mark, it's going to put a surface there. Let's create another one in a similar fashion. I'm going to go ahead and pick a few points that go around here. So creating another perimeter. And then let's create a second one just below that. So here we get another surface with a preview. We'll go ahead and click the check mark. And it doesn't really look possible to go straight from this edge to this edge. There's too much geometry going around over here. So what we're able to do is create a surface. So if I start by clicking on this edge, I could put a control point here if I want. I'm going to click on this edge here. I'm going to pick another point on this edge, and then I'm going to come back to the first one, and you'll see a patch going between them. I could roll dice, so to speak, and try to make this go farther out, but the smaller the patch, the more successful and accurate it's going to be. So we could always click the check mark and then continue to create additional patches. Here you could see that just with one straight line, it assumes the other edges to be used, and I could go ahead and continue doing this around the model. If I want to cap off the end here, what I could do is I could switch to the second tool guide, allowing me to select this edge, and then I'm going to pick a point on the top here, and you'll see that it creates kind of a cap or a dome between that edge and that point, and we'll go ahead and click the check mark in order to create that surface. To the next model. So with the first one, you could use a freehand sketch, which is really good for following the contour of a part, but sometimes we don't need that level of accuracy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by double clicking on the top of the leg to grab all of those facets, and I'm going to insert in a plane. I'm going to take the move tool and I'm going to move that plane down just a little bit. I want to make copies of these. So if I Control C to copy and Control V to paste, I get a second plane, and I could go ahead and move that one down. I could also hold down the Control key while I move that, and as long as I'm holding Control while I move, it will make a copy. And let's go ahead and put one through the ankle and the heel. Or I could hold Control and double click on this rotational handle. That'll copy it 90 degrees, and we'll go ahead and move that out. Now, instead of picking points to go all the way around, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the Skin Surface tool and just select my plane. Here, it's automatically going to create that perimeter going around, but here it's nice and clean and lies in a single plane. Now, the goal is to go from the top of the leg all the way out to the toes, and if I immediately pick this next one, it creates that preview between. And even if I turn on this full preview, which really shows the amount of samples I've chosen, it still doesn't quite follow it. It's taking the least path of resistance. But let's turn that full preview off. It makes the rendering take a little longer. So what we can do is we could have multiple planes and select them in order. I want to go from this plane to this plane. Right now, I've got 50 samples between them. When I add this third one in, the 50 samples is stretched out. I have 50 samples from the first to the last, not between each profile. If I select the next one, again, it stretches those out. You'll notice it's not really following the heel, and that's just with the standard preview, but with the full preview, which actually shows the number of samples, here we can see it's wrapping around correctly. And from here, I'll click the check mark. It creates that surface. And if I want to cap off the surface here, what I do is I select this edge at the end. Remember, you've got to be in this tool guide, select geometry, and then you're just going to pick a point on the end of the toes. And it will go from that edge to the end of the toes, capping that off and creating a surface there. Now, if you did want there to be 50 samples or any number of samples from one to the next, and then between the next two and so on, so you just need to complete them separately. So let me hide this surface here. I could start with this one, select the next one, and click the check mark. I can then go from this leg to this plane, and so forth and so on. So if you need more accurate, tighter fitting data, and maybe the max of 100 samples isn't good enough, you could do individual sections and join them up. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.